When you're playing King Lear, you have to have a little humor, or you will have no tragedy when the king dies. What interested me was dance, the way that it was constructed with time-space constructions, and that it was abstract. I always thought, why couldn't theater be that way? Or an opera? I grew up in a town where there were no galleries, no museums, no theaters, a very religious, ultra-conservative community. What was very interesting to me about Clementine Hunter's work is that she couldn't read or write, and she has recorded history of the plantation life and the southern part of the U.S., the cotton harvests, pecan picking, washing clothes, funerals, marriages, in pictures. I always thought of the English landscape as being English gardens. The landscape of Texas isn't all my work. It's that light, it's that sky. New York is very provincial. They're very cut off. They don't have an awareness of so much that is going on in the world. My tax dollar, which goes to New York State Council on the Arts, is by and large only spent to fund people from the state of New York. And you want to be the cultural capital of the world. I think people are looking for an alternative to the fast pace of everyday life and entertainment. The reason you work as an artist is to stay open and ask questions. If you see the sunset, does it have to mean something? If you hear the birds singing, does it have to have a message? Some years ago, I was invited to speak in Houston, Texas. They said I was a founder of postmodern theater. So I said in my office, this is ridiculous for me to go and speak about postmodern theater when I don't know what it means, but they're paying me a lot of money, so I'll go. I had no idea I was going to have a career in the theater. I did not plan it. In Europe, unlike the States, they have a cultural policy. I think that opera in Europe is 30 years ahead of America. There is a broader range of material presented to the public. They value contemporary opera. My method is much like choreography. I don't sit at a table. I work in a room with people. Sometimes, when we're very, very still, we're more aware of movement than when we make a lot of movement outwardly. My work has always dealt with the kind of space that allows one to daydream. My work is formal, not based on psychology. I'm supposed to be the guy who hates naturalism. One of the few things that will remain of this time is what artists are doing. They are the journal and the diary of our time. I'm an artist, not a philosopher. Increasingly, I find myself drawn to classic forms, to Euripides, Shakespeare, and grand opera. Everything in Wagner's work, the music, the acting, the staging, stem from the text. Everything served to interpret the text. If you take a Baroque commode and put a Baroque clock on top of it, maybe it is not so interesting as when you put a computer on top of it. Then you see both items in a new way. Counterpoint is difficult. I have been doing it since the beginning of my career. But it is not just taking any opposite. It is finding the right opposite. Light is architectural. It is sculptural. I don't see much difference between living and working. I think living is a part of my work. People often say, "How can you work so much?" I don't think about it as work. I think of it as a way to live. If we lose our culture, we lose our memory. We're so afraid to lose the audience. Let the audience go. I want to work with Jay-Z. I think mystery allows us time to dream. Most artists don't understand what they do, and I don't think we have to. Other people do that better. They understand what I do better than I do. Yes, I've been in love, but I guess I'm too involved with myself and my work. I think I'm in love with my work, and I'm in love with the people I work with. I say I like to be alone, yet I'm always surrounded by people. I never thought about the relationship of my mother, my family, to the content of my work. Most theater tells you what to think. All theater is dance. Christopher Knowles, Buchner, Hayner-Mueller, Burroughs, Chekhov, Shakespeare. It's all one body of work. I met a 13-year-old black child, Raymond, who had never been to school and had never learned any words, yet it seemed to me that he was intelligent. It became apparent after a short period that Raymond thought in terms of visual signs and movements. The French, not the Americans, commissioned Einstein on the beach. I'd always been attracted to classic patterns in architecture, music, and drama. In my theater, I'm not trying to change the world. When works get too intellectual, they lose their intensity. The mind is a muscle. I think it's just my nature. I can't work on one thing. I have to work on many things. When I was 12 years old, I went to Natchitoches. It was summer vacation with my family. We visited a plantation, Melrose, and I met an Afro-American woman who was a painter. I already had some idea of what I wanted to do in life, and one of the things that interested me was painting. I learned loudness from working with Lou Reed. At the end of the 1960s, I was part of the downtown theatrical movement in New York that was making work in alleyways, garages, gyms, churches, non-traditional spaces. The idea was to get away from the illusion of the conventional theater, but that I thought, what's wrong with illusion? The first year I was in New York, I met Martha Graham. She said, "Well, Mr. Wilson, what do you want to do in life?" I was 21 years old, and I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "If you work long enough and hard enough, you'll find something." It's important that we have the traditional operas and the repertory, but we should also have something new. I don't see anyone for the first hour and a half that I'm awake. I don't like to talk, and I don't like to hear any sounds. People know not to bother me. I use the time to read and make lists and notes of things I have to do later in the day. I collect rocks from all over the world. I have a ring of stones that date to 3,500 BC. It's like a little Stonehenge. I think by drawing, so I'll draw or diagram everything from a piece of furniture to a stage gesture. I understand things best when they're in graphics, not words. I usually stay in on Sunday nights. I'm not much of a party person. As a very young man, growing up in Texas, usually I got a shotgun or cowboy boots for Christmas. Chairs are like sculpture. I do still collect chairs. The goal of reanimation research is not to make perfect living copies of extinct organisms, nor is it meant to be a one-off stunt in a laboratory or a zoo. Reanimation is about leveraging the best of ancient and synthetic DNA. When something like personal genomics or synthetic biology suddenly appears, it seems to suddenly appear. We might have been working on it for 30 years, but it seems to come out of nowhere. Then you need strategies for engaging a lot of people and thinking about where we're going in the next few months or few years.